At 2:30 p.m. on the 13th of May 1986, two US Navy F-14 Tomcats, call signs Voodoo 1 and Voodoo 2, launched from the USS Enterprise and climbed to the east over the Indian Ocean. A communications relay vessel, the SS Layton, has run into engine difficulties, and the strong currents of the Indian Ocean are pushing her into hostile territory. Enterprise's carrier group has been rushed to the area from operations in the Mediterranean, where she has been supporting airstrikes against targets in Libya as part of Operation El Dorado Canyon. Search and rescue helicopters have been dispatched to aid the SS Layton, but with tensions high, US Navy intelligence believes that enemy aircraft may be operating in the area, including the secretive new jet fighter, the MiG-28. Civilian researchers believe that the MiG-28s are faster and more agile than the US Navy Tomcats, but that their flight performance may be inferior in the inverted dive. Recently declassified documents reveal that this data was in fact inaccurate, and so Voodoo 1 and Voodoo 2 have little idea of the potency of the enemy aircraft they may face. 180 miles out from the carrier, Voodoo team detects a pair of unknown contacts on radar 15 miles to their east. This is alarmingly close for fighter controllers aboard the Enterprise, who know that the MiG-28 carries the feared Exocet anti-ship missile. The contacts cannot be allowed to reach within 100 miles of the carrier, or the Exocets could be launched against them. As the distance between the aircraft closes to 8 miles, Voodoo 1 detects a further 2 radar contacts, and reports back to the Enterprise that there are in fact 4 hostile aircraft approaching. All of a sudden, Voodoo 2 receives a radar lock warning. A 5th aircraft has manoeuvred onto their tail undetected and gains an immediate missile lock. The 2 wings of aircraft flash past each other at 1000 knots closure speed, and Voodoo team immediately know that they are in trouble. The pilot of Voodoo 2 desperately throws his F-14 around the sky to evade, but it's no use. One of the 5 MiG-28s launches a missile at close range. It screeches through the sky and smashes into the tail of Voodoo 2. Voodoo 1 frantically reports back to the Enterprise that his wingman has been shot down, and to launch the reserve Tomcat, Voodoo 3, to come to his aid. With 2 parachutes confirmed from the shot-down Tomcat, a search and rescue helicopter is scrambled, and moments later Voodoo 3 is launched from Enterprise to join the fight. At now 160 miles out, it will take some minutes to arrive while Voodoo 1 desperately tries to survive the now 6 enemy MiG-28s. As Voodoo 3 blasts to the scene, Enterprise controllers learn that the launch catapults have developed a fault, and so no new aircraft can be launched for some time. The 2 Tomcats are now the only hope against the 6 enemy jets. A MiG-28 gains a missile lock on Voodoo 1, but the Seeker fails to track after a quick-thinking snap turn to starboard. Voodoo 3 finally arrives, and is immediately harassed by an enemy MiG. With so many aircraft in the air, the Tomcat nearly collides with another MiG, flying right through its jet wash and sending the F-14 into a violent and dangerous spin. With recent news of another F-14 having been lost in a similar incident, the pilot of Voodoo 3 does well to regain control, but inexplicably aborts his pursuit of the MiG chasing his wingman. Fighter controllers frantically direct the pilot to re-engage. Some controllers would later report hearing distortion, noises, and melancholy music over their headsets, but this is unconfirmed. Voodoo 1 continues the excellent evasive maneuvers, but a MiG finally gains another missile lock and is about to fire. At this exact moment, a Sidewinder missile streaks through the sky and blows the aircraft's starboard wing clean off. Voodoo 3 is finally back in the fight. After dodging a head-on pass with 2 MiG-28s, Voodoo 3 immediately spots another bandit move in, engaging his wingman with its guns. Yet another MiG moves in from the port side and fires another missile, which flashes behind Voodoo 1 and misses. Voodoo 3 now finds himself tailed by another aircraft. The 2 US crews communicate effectively, executing a well-timed turn to port to enable Voodoo 1 to engage the bandit. With another aircraft joining the chase of Voodoo 3, the pilot does not leave his wingman, and another MiG is downed with a missile shot. After heroic flying to this point, Voodoo 1 is finally hit by gunfire from a MiG that flashes across his port side. With a fire in their starboard engine, The crew of Voodoo 1 shut it down, and continue the fight with reduced power. Again, Voodoo 1 is riddled by more gunfire, but continues to fly. With Voodoo 3 still staying with his wingman, they execute a timed turn to starboard to allow an engagement. Voodoo 3 fires a Sidewinder which misses. He doesn't let this faze him, and continues to follow the bandit, prosecuting the target with another missile. The third MiG is down, but the pilot comes to a shocking realization: they only have one missile left. Almost immediately, Voodoo 3 finds yet another MiG-28 on its tail, guns already firing towards him. He evades with a fast aileron roll, but the bandit continues to move in. Voodoo 3's radar intercept officer would later describe his horror that his pilot appeared to be slowing his aircraft down to close the distance with the chasing MiG-28, seemingly increasing their chances of being shot down. The pilot knows what he's doing, however, and at the last possible moment as the enemy aircraft gains missile lock, he performs a perfectly executed Cobra maneuver, pitching the aircraft's nose up to quickly bleed speed, before pushing the nose back down as the fast-moving MiG-28 flashes past. Now finding the MiG to their front, Voodoo 3 engages the target with their final missile shot. In the operations room of the USS Enterprise, fighter controllers wait anxiously for an update from Voodoo team. Finally, the call comes in. The two remaining MiGs are swiftly leaving the area. Voodoo 1 and Voodoo 3, exhausted, head back to the carrier. The SS Layton is successfully rescued, and the search and rescue bird pulls the two ejected crewmen of Voodoo 2 from the water without injury. Later mission debriefs would conclude that the MiG-28s were not actually carrying Exocet missiles, and that the MiGs were likely just intending to keep up foreign relations via good communication when the situation turned ugly. News of the incident spreads across the world, although the hostile government would deny that the event took place. It is fair to say that the loving feeling has been lost between the two governments involved.